Welcome everyone to the raw and uncut version this week of the SellOut show. Shawn is in Orlando and she's going to tell you what we're going to cover today.
Hi, Diana. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. We are going to cover one of my favorite topics, and it is so, I think, critical to your success in anything you do, especially selling, but it's about how to create systems and processes, not even how, but why you should create systems and processes so that you don't have to think about what you're going to do next. You can just think about what you're doing. So we've got some good time, productivity, life hacks, work hacks, sales hacks in here. So keep watching.
It's good stuff.
On this computer. Okay, now we're recording. And are you in slow-mo now?
I don't know. Am I in slow-mo now?
You're in regular mo.
I in slow motion?
We've had a lot of technical difficulties this morning.
Oh my goodness, this is too much fun. Are we recording?
We are recording.
Okay, good, because I didn't want anybody to miss you eating the banana.
I'm hungry. Yeah, so I'm in a hotel, obviously. And this morning, I did drag my butt out of bed and get on the treadmill. I had some vodka that I needed to sweat out.
I was very impressed. I was very impressed with my text message at 5:20 in the morning with you on the treadmill. That was very good.
Well, and then when I went right from there to breakfast because I just did a quick workout. And the only thing that was left was like the bottom of the square pan eggs.
Oof.
They're so gross.
You can't do that.
I drown them in salsa to try to make them taste not like leftover eggs.
You're like,
and that's 7 a.m. They got a couple hours. I didn't have time to, I guess, wait for the replenishing the troops to come in.
You're like, give me the banana. Hey, I have really good news. I'm going to give a little plug here because they super deserve it. But so first of all, I just got to give props to all the podcasters out there because everybody has a podcast, but it's like really, I don't know, maybe I'm just so challenged, but it is really hard to get your podcast onto iTunes. So props to the people that have figured this out. So anyway, I'm like trying to figure out, I'm trying to learn how to do this. And I think the thing I'm missing is you got to really host it somewhere. I mean, like I'm putting it through my WordPress, but it's got to be like hosted somewhere big enough to hold all that stuff. Right.
Oh,
so I find this service called Seriously Simple Podcasting, right? And I'm like, this is the service for me. Seriously Simple Podcasting is what I need, right? So I signed up for Seriously Simple Podcasting, and I cannot figure out how to make this sucker work. So I'm on a free trial, right? So I cancel my subscription, and immediately, not immediately, but pretty close, I get this email from the owner saying, okay, I've canceled you, which is fine, but can you give me some feedback about why you're canceling? And I was like, well, because it's not seriously simple. Like I'm losing the game, and I don't want to pay for a service that I can't use because I'm losing the game of. And he's like, well, what's going on? So I emailed him. Finally, he said, why don't you get everything loaded up in WordPress, give me some admin rights to WordPress, and we'll get it all set up so that it goes over to iTunes just right. And I'm like, this is part of the service? So anyway, I have to give huge props. They're not more expensive than anything else that I've found. And I mean, first of all, I don't think everyone should expect that kind of like support from the owner of the organization. But for people that are totally podcast challenged like I am completely impressed. So
you really just set people up now. Like you've set the owner up. Like he's going to have to respond to people personally.
No, it's probably a bot, right? It's probably a bot. But anyway, so we're going to have like 30 episodes on iTunes next week. We're going to be so official. I cannot wait.
Well, good. You bless your heart if you're listening to us on any format. We love you. Thank you. You know way too much about our lives, but thanks. Awesome.
Yeah, you know way too much about our lives. Anyway, so that's really exciting. I'm very excited. So anyway, which city are you in, and what have you been doing, and why were you drinking vodka, and all that good stuff?
Well, I'm in Orlando, the hot and muggy Orlando, Florida, not by any ocean. Orlando's not by an ocean. It's just really muggy here. It's about the same muggy as Memphis. I'm working with a client and their sales team, and they're fabulous. It's been a fabulous couple days. They're just real hungry and they're great. And yesterday afternoon, the owner called me to say they think I'm great. And I have a feeling this is like a 4-month deal, going to the different locations. Next week I'll be in Nashville. The week after that I'll be in New Orleans. So, and it's an entertainment venue. So I have to go like eat the food and drink the stuff. And so,
of course, you're doing like the hot and muggy tour, the hot and muggy summer tour.
Hot and muggy summer tour. Yeah. So last night, like I had these, oh my gosh, both the drinks I had blueberry and lemon, like blueberry slush and lemon pulp and vodka and rum. And it was so good. But so that was fun. But so I'm in Orlando and I'm staying in, I'm like halfway between each of the big parks. And so the hotel I'm in, this is an observation I had this morning. The hotel I'm in has hundreds of international tourist families here. They're wow. Parks so they can go to the parks, whatever. First of all, that means I've seen more Speedos and boobs and butt cheeks in my life, just walking back and forth in the pool. It's crazy. Like, okay. They were all very good looking and fit, which is great. But this I thought we were going in a different direction. Okay. No. They look great. I'm like, well, if my butt looked like that, I might be wearing a thong to the pool too. But they've got like 3 toddlers and she's in the thong, boobs, he's in Speedo. I'm like, okay. That's just
and so, all those people live in Florida or Los Angeles. I mean, I don't know.
Well, these people live in Australia, Latin America, Britain. They've come here for the Magic Kingdom.
They're on holiday.
Yeah. The big observation is Disney may be the happiest place on earth, but once you leave, all bets are off. Like, there are these horrible fits. It's like these children are losing their shit around me like crazy everywhere. There's children crying, screaming, running around. I'm like, if it weren't, I don't know if I would. It's not this hotel, it's this area because it's I've been walking to my client's venue. It's a half mile walk there and back, which is great. So local, so close. It's not like I'm going to come down here and stay anywhere else and have the same problem, but seriously, these children are losing their shit right and left because they're tired. It's not their fault. They're tired babies. One mom came in yesterday carrying her toddler. It was grandma, grandpa, dad. Dad's carrying a stroller under her arm, and the mom's got like this 80-pound toddler in her arm, and he's dead asleep. And they look like they've come through a war zone. When I got there in the afternoon, the kids are either losing their shit, and the parents look like they have just absolutely, seen some stuff.
Wow.
I've never taken my kids to Disney, and I have friends who are just like love Disney and plan and stuff like that. I've never wanted to. I don't ever want to take them. Don't make me go. Don't make me go.
You may be able to hire parents for this.
I have a friend, Selena. She loves Disney, and they go like probably about once a year. And so I said, okay, if my kids ever want to go, you can take them, and I'll take your boys camping and hiking because she hates camping and hiking and stuff. So we may have to make a pact to do that. I'll pay you to take my kids to Disney.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Tom's family used to go once a year when he was growing up, and I was just like, wow, I just couldn't. Ugh.
Oh,
there are too many children at Disneyland.
Exactly.
There are too many kids.
Children at Disney. Too many kids in my hotel. My egg. No.
We sound like child haters. All right. So what were you doing? What were you training for your people?
Well, it's okay. So there's a couple of things, and one of the things I want to focus on today, a couple of things, but so this particular location is next to a convention visitor center, so they get a ton of business from the CVBs and destination management companies and stuff. And what happens is they're getting really transactional. And so we're training, those big pieces of business are great, but I think we're missing a lot in the middle, those smaller groups, corporate, 80 to 100 or, 80 to 100, 200 people at $300 a head. I mean, they're missing so much of that because we need to shift from being that transactional of, what do you want? How many people? What's your head count? What's your per into let's tell the story of these amazing venues and the capabilities of what we can do. And so training a lot on that. And the other thing that I want to talk about today is, bless their heart, these salespeople, they're just so incredibly responsive. They get, calls, leads from the internet. Most all their leads generated are inbound. Event management companies come to them, and they're, sending proposals, crafting proposals, collecting money. They have so many things on their plate. So we really talked about how can we create some processes so that you take the thinking out of what you have to do to focus on what you say and how you do it. So that's
great.
About today.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think that's great. So why don't I kick us off and we can get started on that. I think that's a great topic. So I will start by saying, welcome everyone to the SellOut Show, where we are always sold out. I am Diana Guerin. I am the Irreverent Sales Girl, where my mission is to bring a dash of dignity to the art of selling.
Hi, Diana. I'm so glad we were able to overcome all our technology challenges this morning and take our show from the road. I'm Shawn Sandy. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of the Selling Agency, and where we coach humans how to sell to other humans. Because if you sell like a toddler throwing a fit at Disney because he did not get the $35 Mickey Mouse sippy cup that he wanted, I will put you in a corner.
That would be a bad way to sell.
Yeah.
Many people try it. Why didn't I get a deal? Why can't I get somebody to return my email?
It's not fair that I didn't get the deal. They got the deal. What did they do?
I've been emailing this guy like 5 times. Why doesn't he write back to me? Okay, so what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I want to talk about your systems and processes. I think we probably have a wide swath of people here who, some of you, boots on the ground, phone in the hand salespeople. You may work for organizations that have great CRMs. You've got phenomenal sales enablement, and everything is tracked and measured. But it's been my experience. Most of my clients are in small, mid-sized businesses, and I've also worked for enterprise-sized organizations that don't have great systems and processes. So it's up to you as a salesperson to create those for yourself. That's been my experience. How about you?
I have never worked for a place that had built-in systems.
Okay. I know we've talked to several SDRs, and those positions in particular, if your company is large enough to have an SDR team, BDRs, and then outside, whatever, chances are they've got systems and processes, but it's just not probably the norm for a lot of folks out there.
No, one of my clients that I sell for it wouldn't surprise you at all who it is. She has like processes and manages everything by the numbers. And it's really kind of cool to work inside that environment because it does exactly what you're about to talk about, and which makes people more effective. But anyway, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about, what I talked about with the team that I was coaching this week was, what are the things in your sales process, not necessarily that you automate, but that you create an order, a list of priorities or systems or checks and balances, so that the big key here is when you take the thinking out of having to do something and make that part automatic, then you can save the thinking for, instead of what am I going to do, it's what am I going to say? And look, we're just overloaded. We're so overloaded with all the stuff we have to think about, all the messages incoming, that not having to think about the process each and every time saves you a little bit of brain power.
Absolutely. Well, so tell me you're absolutely right. In fact, some people surmise, and I'm not sure this is true, I think it was a branding thing, but some people say that Steve Jobs, like the way that he managed his wardrobe was, just always black turtleneck jeans, because he didn't have to think about what he was going to wear. Like he was going to use his brain power on something else. I think it's brilliant.
Same way. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg's the same way. It's like a hoodie, t-shirt, jeans, hoodie, t-shirt, jeans. And that's brilliant. I couldn't do that because, some of my joy is derived from dressing and clothes and that kind of stuff. But seriously, some of the different ways, and you can do this in different parts of your life, because I think that it all adds up. Like using your brain power on all that stuff adds up. So we'll start with different ways in your life you can do it and then get into sales. So for instance, I get my workout clothes ready the night before.
Yeah.
And so, shirt, shoes, pants, whatever. And, my heart rate monitor's right next to it. I get my headphone, everything's all together so that when I get up in the morning, I just go put the stuff on, go to the treadmill or drive someplace to a class or whatever. So I don't have to think about it. And also because I don't have to think about it, I don't have any excuses either.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. I find that anytime I have a system, things get done. Do you know, like the bane of my existence, the way that I can tell if my life is working or not is I go to my laundry room, and if my laundry's done, then, and I get it done I do it every Sunday at exactly the same time, and the whole place is laid out in a particular way, and I take the clothes out and I put them in a particular place so that when I put them away in my bedroom, which I hate the worst, putting clothes away, right, I have them all stacked so that it's like this one goes in this drawer and then the next section goes in this drawer. I mean, I've got this whole system that makes laundry just not a thing. And it works. I mean, anytime you have a system, it can make something work. And the same thing with sales, because you can sit there and jack around for 3 hours trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Such a waste.
Yeah. So, one of the ways that I don't have to think about what I'm going to do is by scheduling everything. Like we've talked about time hacks before.
So good.
If it's important enough to do in your day, it should be important enough to get a spot on your calendar. That's the way I feel about things. If it's important enough to remember or it's important enough to do, it should get a spot on your calendar.
Yeah.
If it's not, how many things, I'm guilty of this still, but how many things do I do and like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do this. Well, when is it that that's going to happen if I have 8,342 other competing priorities?
Yeah. And that's a lot of competing priorities. Oh, man.
Hyperbole is my friend. And then what happens is we stay in this constant state of overwhelm. If everything is a priority, everything is a priority, then you've diluted all your priorities. So if we don't, manage, I like to be managed my calendar. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do. My calendar tells me what I'm going to do. It also makes it easy to say, no, I can't do something because my calendar tells me I'm going to have to go do something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So schedule everything. Schedule your time for prospecting. Schedule your time for research. Schedule your time for reading up on industry stuff or whatever, and then stick to it. Like there's people who I've had this conversation with and we'll talk about it and then they'll block it out on their calendar and then they just blow it off. Like they don't actually do it. So you have to.
See, I used to be a talk and blocker.
A talk and blocker.
Yeah. I just came up with that just now. But yeah, I used to be a talk and blocker, and then because I mean, you keep saying this, right? So I'm like, well, maybe I should try this, right? For the first time. I have to tell you something. I'm doing this 100 outreach a week thing.
Yes. Crazy woman.
I'm right now at 92 on Friday, right?
Wow.
So here's what's going to happen. There's probably 8 built in, right? Because just continuing conversations I've started. I get to have my entire afternoon on Friday because I'm going to nail my number, and it's all this blocking thing. But the thing that Alice Hyman added to my talk and my block, which made it less talk and more block and actually doing it, is she said, now during your day, change your calendar to what actually happened, as you're going through it. Because things sometimes do have to move around, right? You've got a call block scheduled and then a client wants an appointment. It's not like you're going to be like, well, I have a call block, so I can't present to you then. So you move things, or your child shows up, your child shows up, and something has to happen. So you just kind of move things around. You're like, well, that had to happen there, so what do I need to move to make sure this happens? And then you can look back at the week. Then she and I are accountability partners, so then we look at each other's calendar and say what happened in reality. So anyway, I can't tell you how relaxed and productive, and I can't say anything because the ink is coming today, but something really exciting happened that I'll share with you next week. But I mean, it's just magic. This blocking, do it. It's magical.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. I'm going to start doing that. Well, it's like you ever make lists and then you did something extra and you add it to your list just so you can cross it off.
For that hit of dopamine that you get?
Yeah. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go through my calendar and note what actually happened, because stuff does happen. It falls apart. You have meetings run late. You have meetings get canceled and stuff. But the other thing about calendaring too is that I put everything into those blocks. And here's another part of not having to think about it. So if you are going to do something, here's an example. You and we're going to have some strategy meetings where we talk about the SellOut show and upcoming episodes and stuff. So we've blocked off, I think, upcoming Monday, a block of time to do that. We put everything we're going to talk about it in that block. So I don't have the sticky notes of pieces of paper. I don't have to remember it. It's just when we get there, that is when we think about it.
Yeah.
If I am going to research some software stuff, I have to do that actually for one of my clients. I'm going to block out a time to do that. And over the course of, if I think about some things I want to research, and it's going to be next Wednesday at 3:00, I'm going to go dump that into that time block. So I don't think about it now. I don't have to remember it. It's all in that little time block. It's all in that calendar. Little pieces of paper that drives me insane. All the little pieces of paper and crap that come home from my kids' school. Like next week is, silly sock Monday, wear a hat Tuesday, punch your mother Thursday. I don't know, but all this, they do that all the time. I will go and put that into my calendar and then throw that piece of paper away. So it doesn't
that's great.
Any more space in my head. It just goes. And the other funny thing too is that I've trained my kid, poor Jake, he's like 6 and 7, and I'm telling him, he's got, Mom, you need to look at these papers. I said, no, you need to look at these papers. You need to go through all your crap. If it's important to you, then you need to bring it to me and say, Mom, can you put this in the calendar? So
so good.
And he'll ask me, did you put that in the calendar? Are you sure? Yeah, I'm teaching them to make sure that they own their own priorities, and that we know if it's a priority and it's worth remembering, it gets time on my calendar.
That's amazing. So how does this translate to the sales teams that you were working with? Like, how does this translate to their sales success? What are they doing differently, and how's it working?
Well, this team in particular, I think that really was a light bulb. They're just every day, they're so responsive and have to be so reactive. I mean, seriously, their traffic and their leads are all from inbound, people calling into this venue to talk about these venues. So if people are calling in, they want to be heard, and they want to be serviced. They want to be talked to now. So you have to be incredibly responsive, but that just blows your day apart. They could have someone who wants, and also it's a matter of excitement too. Like they could have someone calling in for a group of 4,500 people. They want to rent all 3 venues and come on at once. And then that makes, for 2 years from now. And that makes the party that you're working on, 2 months from now for 400 people look like, well, screw that. I'm going to go work on this. So it's a matter of juggling those priorities and not, and setting the precedent to say, okay, what we did with this team was, you're going to work in half-hour blocks, 25-minute blocks, to be specific, working off a Pomodoro technique, so that there's no phone call that can't be returned within 25 minutes and people be okay. We've determined that was an okay time, so that, when it's time to, I gave them a couple assignments about making outbound outreach calls and, looking at the slower months and looking at business last year and calling those businesses and stuff. So they have to do that. So they're going to do it, prepare ahead of time, get their stuff together, and then they'll do it in 25-minute blocks, because that has to be a priority. It's a competing priority. So one of the other things I made them do was I made them, it's funny because it's a team of 2 plus sales coordinators around them. I said, I want you each to write down your list of priorities and then rearrange them and rank them top, 1 to 10, and then they'll compare. And then you will have this list of priorities. You're going to manage yourself to it. Your calendar be worked towards these priorities, but then you're going to self-manage towards these priorities, because that's another way of not having to think about what you're doing, to say, my phone, I've got my phone ringing and I'm supposed to be doing this. What's my priority?
Right.
Take that thought process out of it. It makes it so much easier to know what you have to do, and then think about what you're actually doing instead of, well, what am I supposed to be doing?
I just love it. So the moral of the story is stop thinking and start doing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Set up your life so you spend less time thinking about what you're supposed to do, more time doing it, and thinking about what you should say and what your customers' needs are and how to talk to them. And yeah.
Oh, I think that's just so great. And most of us think that we're thinking, but what's really happening is we're having thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, and they're so distracting. They're like squirrel, like a thought runs through your head and you're like, whoa.
Exactly.
So if you actually schedule the time when you're going to do the thinking, and then this is exactly what I do. And have been doing, and it's just been great, is especially since I have this amazing assistant, is being able to schedule those times where I'm going to gather all the research and information that I need. Mm-hmm. And mostly she does a lot of it for me, which is fabulous. Mm-hmm. And then, I just pick the companies that I want to call on and the titles, and she does the research. And then what happens is I have a list on my desk, right, of the people that I'm going to call. And then here's how it goes. I look at it. I'm like, okay. I look at their LinkedIn. I look at their website. I pick up the phone because there's the phone number right there. And then I log it in the CRM. And then I'm like, what do I do next? Oh, there's another name right here. And lather, rinse, repeat. It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Right.
And then you put your next task in the CRM. And then the next day that you have blocked off to work on that thing, you go to your CRM and you go, what am I doing today? And there are all your activities, and then you do them.
Yeah. You have to block off time to plan this stuff. You have to block off time to plan your plan. Whoever you work for, or whatever your organization, whatever tools they've given you, if you don't have the CRM or if you don't have all the bells and whistles, you can still do this. All you really need is the calendar and the discipline to do what your calendar tells you to do.
That's exactly right. And, I swear to God, there's this thing called a piece of paper and a pencil, and you can make lists of the people that you're going to call, and then you can cross them off. Yeah. Or what I like to do is, when I'm doing the paper pencil thing, is I write them, because for some of my clients, they don't operate inside of CRM. So I write it down and then I highlight it if it needs another action. So then the next day I pull up my list, and everything that's highlighted means that I've got to call on that company or do something next. I mean, there's no excuse.
Right.
There's no excuse. And if you're totally baller too, which I'm not, but Jeb Blunt is like, only do your planning outside of calling hours. If you really are that person, I say go for it. But I think that you should give yourself a break too. And if what you need to do is set aside some planning time during your work day, set aside the planning time and do the planning then. And then, it will enhance what you do with your call blocks during the rest of your week. That's my love for you.
Yes. I don't think we can stress this enough, that you've got to have the systems, the processes, have other people involved in those systems and processes to make your life work, make your work life work, make your life work, so that you can spend more time doing the things that get results instead of thinking about what should I be doing to get the results. So
have a place where you put your keys.
Yes. Oh my. Oh, let me tell you, I have one kid you met Sophia. How do you know Sophia's been at your house? Because she's left all her shit there. She just leaves stuff everywhere. My husband's kind of like this too, so I'm trying to train her. So this year they have iPads at school, and they can take the iPads home. So
wow.
You have, and if you forget it, I'm not bringing it to school. You forget it enough times, I don't know what they do to you, mark you down or whatever. But so I said to her, you have got to put your backpack in the same place every day. We created a charging station there, and her iPad goes on top of her backpack. So there's no way she can walk out the door without both of those things. It's just
so good.
If I would bring my lunch with me. If I'm going to go someplace, I put my keys on top of my lunch in the refrigerator, because it's probably not good for the battery. I don't care, because otherwise I'll forget my damn lunch. So it's, creating these safety, it's almost like a safety net, right? Creating safety nets in your processes too, so that you don't forget your lunch, you don't forget your iPad, you don't forget this, you don't have to think about it either. It's just there.
I really think this is exciting to talk about, because Douglas Adams has this book. Do you know, not Douglas Adams, Scott Adams.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
No, Douglas Adams is dead. He's awesome. And he's awesome. Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
Scott Adams, the guy that writes Dilbert.
Okay.
He's a really interesting guy. Like, he's a scientist, and he wrote this book called How to Fail All the Time and Still Win Big, or something like that. But it's a good book, but it's all about systems. It's all about creating systems. And one thing that I learned from this book was a bad system is better than no system, right? So, I mean, one of the things that would keep me from putting systems into place about the things that were important in my life was that I just didn't know where to start, or I felt like it was too big or overwhelming. And what I learned was just take a step, just put one thing into place. And if it doesn't work, toss it or tweak it. But the point is just keep getting better at getting systems. And it's absolutely remarkable. Oh, really.
Check that one out. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I feel like we probably, if we have not convinced you to get your shit together, I don't know I can't help you.
We have beaten you to death. I'm just so excited about this topic, because you really can move the world with a good system. A little bit of leverage and a good system, and you can do whatever you want.
Nice. I like that. That's a good quote. A little bit of leverage and a good system, you can do anything you want.
Pretty much. All right. Well, should we kick us out?
Yes, let's kick us out.
All right. Well, kick us out by saying,
sun's on now.
Oh God, stop hoping
and start selling.
That's right. Bye.